He's fighting Gervonta Davis, somebody who's a quarter of his size. I don't even know what's going on. Has Eddie Hearn been played? Let me know what you think. But the AJ fight with Jake Paul's finished. Gervonta Davis, fake Paul, November. I don't know what's going on in the world of boxing.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting going from heavyweight to lightweight very quickly. We knew that Jake would potentially take a fight this side of the year. I think I was the first one to say about 3 or 4 months ago that fight was agreed between Gervonta Davis and Jake Paul. I wasn't expecting it to be announced today.
I'm not sure, bro. I'm definitely not sure, but hopefully we could get it before. Nah.
Experts are ripping apart Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis. From size differences to questions of credibility, analysts argue this fight is bad for boxing. Instead of excitement, the matchup is drawing heavy criticism across the sport. Meanwhile, Carl Froch didn't hold back when giving his thoughts on Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis. He said the fight makes no sense, pointing out that Gervonta is much smaller and shouldn't even be considered for such a matchup. Froch admitted he couldn't understand how the fight was approved and called it an absolute joke, stressing that boxing deserves better matchups than this.
He's fighting Gervonta Davis, somebody who's a quarter of his size. I don't even know what's going on. Has Eddie Hearn been played? Let me know what you think. But the AJ fight with Jake Paul's finished. Gervonta Davis, fake Paul, November.
Adding on, Shakur Stevenson took a calmer view of the fight. Instead of only talking about the size difference, he focused on Gervonta Davis' skills. Stevenson explained that Tank has the boxing IQ and experience to handle bigger opponents. He believes Davis could make the fight easier by sticking to smart boxing and relying on his knowledge in the ring rather than just power.
I mean, size will play some part of the fight, but if I'm thinking like I'm Tank, I'm probably just gonna go out there and try to outbox him and use my knowledge and IQ against him. So I can see Tank just outboxing him.
Shakur went further when asked about whether Jake Paul's size could be too much for Gervonta Davis. He dismissed the concern, pointing out that Tank has been boxing his whole life and knows how to deal with challenges. Stevenson made it clear that while Jake has improved, Davis operates on another level. He predicted Tank would likely win by decision through smart boxing.
Nah, not at all. I think Tank is, he's been boxing his whole life. He's been boxing since a kid, so I doubt like that's gonna be an issue or problem. I think Jake is good for where he's at, but I think it's just levels.
Do you see a more likely chance that Tank wins by decision or by knockout?
By decision. I mean, that guy's too big. I don't think that he's just gonna knock that guy out.
Building on that, Shakur also shared his honest feelings about the fight as both a boxer and a businessman. From a competitive angle, he admitted the matchup doesn't excite him and isn't something he would look forward to watching, but from a business standpoint, he understood why Gervonta Davis might take the fight, recognizing the financial draw even if the sporting value seems low.
Hell no, nah, that ain't really like, I mean, like I said, here's the thing, like I got two sides of me. When it comes down to, I got a business side, then I got a competitor side. And from the competitive aspect, it don't excite me for me to be like, okay, I want to watch it. But from the business side, I understand as though why would he go that route. So.
Furthermore, Paulie Malignaggi shared his initial reaction to the fight, admitting he was still processing it. He highlighted that as an exhibition, it avoids the full pressure of a pro bout. Paulie explained that how Jake Paul gains advantages from size and exposure, while Tank Davis uses it as a way to avoid other fights. He suggested it's a win-win for Jake, but less so for Tank.
Dude, I don't know. I'm still processing it. It's an exhibition, at least. I don't know. It could have been worse. I guess it could have been a real on-the-record fight. I don't know. You know, wasn't Jake Paul rumored to be in fighting Anthony Joshua recently?
Yeah, heavyweight. Heavyweight, big heavyweight.
Who said this recently, that they wish they had it like Jake Paul, where you could just go through all the weight classes and be like, I'm gonna fight.
Paulie then broke down the matchup in detail, noting the extreme size difference and how it creates a David versus Goliath scenario. He acknowledged Tank's superior skill, but emphasized Jake's physical advantage. Finally, Paulie concluded that while the fight may be entertaining, it does little for boxing as a sport, showing that commercial interests are outweighing sporting logic.
It's really win-win, I guess. I mean, I can't say it's win-win for Gervonta as much as it is for Jake. Jake, it's like, okay, you're fighting a former world lightweight champion. You're bigger, so you have some advantages, even if you're, at a severe skill disadvantage. You're not supposed to expect to do anything, but if you do, it's even, it's bananas for you. It's great. Gervonta, I don't know. What if Jake hits him? You know, Jake's a big guy. I don't know if Gervonta stood next to Jake. Jake's a big guy.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
And Gervonta is small even by lightweight standards.
Right.
So it is a little bit of a David and Goliath fight. It's just, you know, the David character in Gervonta is much more skilled. But I guess there's that's the thought process.
Furthermore, Mysterious Frank on the Ariel Helwani show discussed the early uncertainty around the Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis matchup. He noted that initial reports gave different dates and no clear mention of whether it's an exhibition or an official fight. Helwani compared it to past Jake Paul fights, explaining that the details are still unfolding and the fans need to watch how the official announcements and fight agreements develop over time.
We gave our initial thoughts earlier, right? To reiterate, not particularly interested in the matchup of this fight. Some interesting new developments though, right? All the reporting out of the Ring magazine was November 15th. It is in fact November 14th, per Netflix. And no mention of exhibition, no mention of weight. So we kind of still have to see what is to come there.
Frank added that the fighters and their teams are negotiating the weight class and official status. These details will affect fairness and the structure of the fight, and while the matchup is exciting, the exact rules, weight limits, and sanctioning still need to be finalized, making it unclear how the fight will play out when it happens.
The Mike Tyson-Jake Paul fight had similar kind of question marks around it, like, is this going to be an exhibition or is this going to be an official fight? And you kind of go through the motions and go through the process of this. So I imagine that Jake Paul, Nikisa Badarian, and MVP are going through the process of trying to get this to be an official fight. And if not, they can still do this as an exhibition, no problem. What weight class they meet at is going to be very fascinating, right? Like, is Jake Paul going to try to get down lower in weight?
Furthermore, Eddie Hearn weighed in on the matchup, focusing first on how unusual it is to see Jake Paul, a much bigger fighter, face someone like Gervonta Davis. He explained that while it seems strange, the fight is part of the business side of boxing. Hearn noted that massive paydays can change a fighter's priorities, even if the match doesn't make sporting sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting going from heavyweight to lightweight very quickly. You know, we knew that Jake would potentially take a fight this side of the year. I think I was the first one to say about 3 or 4 months ago that fight was agreed between Gervonta Davis and Jake Paul. I wasn't expecting it to be announced today, but it is what it is. I'm not, you know, I've had a lot of media asking me my opinion of it today. It is what it is. I think on one side you have to understand the business of it. I hate these exhibitions. I hate these 14-ounce gloves. I don't know what it's going to be, but like, you know, you now got Jake, who's a 210, 220 pounder fighting a 135 pounder.
Hearn then clarified that this fight is more entertainment than traditional boxing. He said, fighters sometimes accept high-profile matchups for exposure or money, even if they weren't actively seeking them. According to Hearn, this explains why the fight went ahead despite questions about fairness, size, and skill gaps, highlighting the commercial side of modern boxing.
Bit weird, but at the same time, you know, I can't be a hypocrite and say, if you're Gervonta Davis and you're being offered 20, 30, 40 million, whatever the number is, and you're getting 7 or 8 to fight Lamont Roach in a 50-50, what are you going to do? I mean, maybe the kid's half checked out of the game anyway, you know? So I think as long as we kind of established it's not boxing and it's just this entertainment thing, then I get it. But you know, I think it probably, a lot of people are saying, you know, do you still want to fight him? Anthony. It's like, we never really wanted to fight him. We were never really looking for the fight. We were approached about the fight, and we would have said yes.
Finally, Hearn reflected on the unpredictability of the fight. He admitted it's unusual and not what traditional boxing fans expect, but he acknowledged the financial realities. Even if the matchup stretches the rules and feels odd, the money and attention make it understandable from a business perspective, showing the balance between sport and spectacle in boxing today.
But if he did want the fight, probably does change things a little bit now, because, you know, if he gets beat up by Gervonta or, I don't know, like, I just don't know what's going to happen, but that's the freakiness of it. So I can't really knock it, but it's just not really for me. You know, a fight's a fight. It's Queensberry rules. It's 10-ounce gloves, you know, if you're the big boys, and if not, it's 8-ounce gloves, and it's 3-minute rounds, and that's the rules. So this is a kind of manipulation of the rules to make it allowable in certain commissions. But at the same time, I understand the business. Money's money and the game's the game.
On the other side, Paolo Malignaggi said Jake Paul started as a YouTuber with talent but unproven skills, while Gervonta Davis got a big push from Floyd Mayweather. He explained that previous attempts to build stars like Adrian Broner went wrong when matched too tough. This time, they went the opposite way, carefully picking easy opponents to protect Davis and slowly build his reputation in boxing.
Ryan Garcia, a lot of fluff again because he's a YouTuber who's never accomplished anything else besides being a YouTuber. Though there is talent there, it's unfulfilled and untapped talent, and the loss to Rolly Romero tells you that. So what has Gervonta Davis created, aside from being a manufactured creation that got a big push from Floyd Mayweather? Let's be honest here. A big push from Floyd Mayweather. And then after that, let's match him very carefully, because what do? We wanted to do the same thing with Adrian Broner, who had the balls to fight everybody. Say what you will about Adrian Broner, had the balls to fight everybody.
Paoli added that Davis kept fighting low-risk opponents, including Lamont Roach, where he was heavily favored. This strategy made him look face, avoiding real challenges. But now, as he faces tougher competition, people are starting to see that Davis might actually be a serious threat in the ring, showing his skill and potential against higher-level opponents for the first time.
Let's match him very carefully, because what do? We wanted to do the same thing with Adrian Broner, who had the balls to fight everybody. Say what you will about Adrian Broner, had the balls to fight everybody. Didn't duck a single fight. And they said, you know what? We wanted to do this with Adrian Broner. We wanted to just manufacture a star before he was made into a star. And we kind of messed up by matching him too tough. So the pendulum swung in the complete opposite direction here. It's not like you balanced it out. You went in the complete opposite direction and made this guy fight absolutely nobody constantly. And let me tell you something about the Lamont Roach fight. He's a 16-1 underdog going into the fight because they knew they didn't want to fight anybody who was a risk. There's a reason he's ducking the Lamont Roach rematch now. Because now you realize, wow, this guy is a threat. Whoa, I don't want anything near him. I've stayed away from guys like this my whole career. What, am I going to start fighting them now? They've given me free money my whole career to get away from the threats. I'm going to start fighting them now?
Moving on, Showbiz the Adult also shared his concerns about the matchup. He questioned the logic behind the fight, pointing out the huge size difference between Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis. While some call it an exhibition, he reminded fans that the rules are mostly the same as a pro fight, meaning the risks remain real and someone could get seriously hurt in the ring.
Honestly, I don't know if Tank fans are going to really respond this time in a negative way to this take I'm going to have. But here are my concerns. One, again, how the hell is Tank too small for 140 but can fight Jake Paul at 200? And listen, dude, listen, don't give me it's an exhibition. Jake Paul himself says it's only an exhibition because no one was sanctioned the weight difference. Other than that, all the rules gonna be same as a pro fight. Someone can get knocked the hell out.
Building on that, Showbiz the Adult also looked at the financial side and hype surrounding Jake Paul's fights. He noted that while some of Paul's earlier matchups didn't make huge waves, big-name opponents like Tyson Fury or Gervonta Davis bring massive attention and money. He acknowledged that opinions about Paul are mixed, but emphasized that Paul does have real skills, making the upcoming fight with Tank especially significant.
This isn't one hell of a bag because Jake Paul is a hell of a bag type of guy. They both are. It's the matchup. All right, I've seen Jake Paul have fights that didn't do so well. Like Mike Perry, it did okay. I think he had like 2 fights against guys nobody really knew. It did okay, but Jake Paul really shines financially depending on the matchup, all right? You got the Fury fight, you got the Tyson fight, and you got this Tank Davis fight. And really a lot of Jake Paul early stuff was going viral because it was like sensational. Now, people kind of see Jake Paul as one of 2 things. 1, he's just good now, okay? He's a fighter. Or 2, people think that all his shit is fake. But I tell you this, how I feel, I've seen Jake Paul can fight, okay? He can fight. which is why I got Jake Paul knocking out Tank.
Finally, Showbiz the Adult wrapped up his analysis by making a bold prediction. He highlighted the extreme size difference between Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis, noting Paul's experience in training. While he expects Paul to have the advantage, Showbiz made it clear that his support lies with Tank. He emphasized that despite the likely outcome, he still respects Davis's skills and would be rooting for him.
Yeah, my prediction is Jake Paul at 200 plus pounds knocks out a lightweight. I can't, listen, bro, why would I think otherwise, right? I would only think otherwise if Jake Paul didn't have any experience boxing, but now he's been in many camps. He done put together a decent resume. He put together a resume as any boxer would who has fought a handful of, 11 fights or 12, I don't know his record, all right? But what I'm saying is, he's a heavyweight, fighting a lightweight. I'm assuming he knocks him out, but I tell you this, I would be rooting on Gervonta Tank Davis. I'm rooting for Gervonta to win.
Adding on, Brian Norman Sr. shared his doubts about Jake Paul's approach to top-level boxing. He argued that Paul seems more focused on image and avoiding risk than proving himself against the best in the division. According to Norman, while Paul may believe he's talented, concerns about becoming a meme or facing tough opponents could prevent him from showing the mindset and temperament needed to compete with elite fighters.
On Netflix, his charges got dropped with something outside of boxing a couple weeks ago. And now we're here. Obviously, before that, he had a draw with Lamont Roach. So, I mean, what do you think about just the fight that is happening in this exhibition? And what do you feel about as far as him in the future, as far as, fighting some of the best guys at 135?
I don't think at this point he will ever fight none of the best guys at 135. He never showed that he was interested in proving that he was the best. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that he probably believes he's the best. He just not, like he already told you what he's worried about. He's worried about becoming a meme. He's worried about so many things. You feel what I'm saying? So with that being said, you got to bring it to get it. And I don't think he's going to have the kind of temperament that he needs to bring it like he needs to bring it to fight the best of the best.
Brian also said big money drives fights like Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis. He explained that big paydays can make fighters focus more on earning than proving themselves in the ring. Even Ryan Garcia's earnings show that money can change priorities. Norman suggested that financial reward sometimes matters more than competing against the best or taking real risks in boxing.
Like I said, when people were screaming ones and everything else, when you start saying, I told you this before, I said when you start to hear other numbers, then the last number and the previous number that sounded good to you sound like nothing to you, you know what I'm saying? So I can only imagine the numbers that he hearing.
Norman added that exhibition fights raise questions about rules and safety, like whether fighters wear headgear. Norman noted that even with some relaxed rules, these fights can be very profitable. The business side often guides these matches more than pure competition, showing that money and exposure are bigger factors than testing skills against top opponents.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a lot of money. So with Jake Paul, it's gonna be a whole lot of money. You know what I'm saying? And then he don't have to worry about taking the loss. I don't know if I know it's gonna be an exhibition bout, but are they gonna have headgear? Like, what is this gonna be? You know what I'm saying? Because the exhibition bout, they're gonna have rules. With boxing, I don't know if you're gonna be able to do that without a headgear. Well, yeah, they did, because Roy and Mike did it without headgears.
Meanwhile, Chris Algieri explained how Gervonta Davis has changed as a fighter. He stays focused in the gym with long gaps between public updates. As he gains experience, money, and moves up in weight, his team carefully manages risk. The upcoming Jake Paul exhibition represents a major payday, balancing financial reward with avoiding the toughest opponents in his division.
He was thinking about retirement, or he wants to think about his kids, or he, is thinking this different way, or I don't want to go to a therapist because it's going to change the way that he's already thinking about it then. That shows me he's already got a foot out the door. The people around him I'm sure are aware of that. They've got the behind the door discussions with him, and they're getting the real Gervonta Davis, or at least parts of it that no one else gets to see. Especially lately, if you notice, Gervonta's been really out of the public eye in between fights. Yeah. He stays in the gym a lot more. He's kind of quiet, and then once he starts getting ready to fight again, he starts tweeting. But there's a big gap in between that. We're not hearing a whole lot of what's going on in between. So are the people around him aware that his mindset has changed? Are they aware that he's not in it the way he was? He doesn't have that young, hungry man mentality anymore. He's made a lot of money. Fights are getting tougher. He's going up in weight. You know, these guys are different now. There's a lot of tough guys around him. Maybe he doesn't want to go into those dark places that are necessary.
Algieri analyzed the stakes of the fight. He argued that Davis, as a world champion, has more to lose despite being smaller, while Jake Paul's skill level has plateaued. The matchup is high reward for Paul, but risky for Davis. Chris emphasized that the fight is as much about money as it is about sport, highlighting the contrasting positions of each fighter.
And his people around him, his handlers, don't understand that. And it's like, all right, guys, we got to get that bag now. I know we've made a lot of money, but we've also spent a lot of money. But there's a massive payday with this guy, Jake Paul, in an exhibition fight in November. Let's go get that, man. Let's go get that bag. And then from there, I mean, we'll see what happens, because at that point, you're not going to make more money than that anywhere else, and without fighting someone really dangerous. Jake Paul's danger is only because he's so big. Other than that, there's a lot more dangerous guys in his weight classes that are going to make a lot less money. So risk reward, this is the route.
You have played both sides of it, probably about who has more to lose in this fight. If you had to make a pick, who to you has more to lose? The big Jake Paul, who's not particularly skilled, or the smaller and very skilled Gervonta Davis, who's facing a bigger guy?
I think Davis is more to lose because he's the bona fide world champion. I don't care if he's much smaller. I think Jake Paul has sort of plateaued as far as where his boxing is concerned. It's rather low level.
The upcoming Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis fight is drawing major criticism from experts, as the fight is shaping up as more spectacle than sport. Experts agree the matchup raises serious questions about fairness, safety, and credibility. While Paul benefits from size, exposure, and financial gain, Davis faces real risk despite his skill. Many analysts see the fight as a business-driven event rather than a competitive boxing contest, highlighting the shift toward entertainment in modern boxing. With all this in mind, what do you think, fans? Is this matchup a thrilling event or a complete disgrace for boxing? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.